show me what you stand for. Stop looking, walk this way. It's time to hit the dance floor. I got it, what you say? Come show me what you stand for. Stop looking, walk this way. It's time to hit the dance floor.
It's currently out of China is 250 million people. How many people really get confirmed they bring the death the body every day is okay.
This is not a test.
Right. Sorry about that. Let's see if we're working now. Are we working now? I believe we are. Let me adjust some stuff. Hope everybody can hear me. Let me adjust something real quick and whoa. Excuse me. Yeah. I don't know why that happened. That was weird. My camera for some reason is, I thought I had all this set up, but sorry about that. So everybody, welcome to Disclosure TV. It's been a while. I've been away for a little while, so I don't know what's going on with my stuff. I've been trying to get the kinks worked out of it. Alright, so if everybody has been following the news of I'm not going to say the full name because everybody's getting kicked off for it, and I'm just not going to say it. I'm just going to say the CV. We'll just say the CV that's going on in China. Or we could say, I guess we might be able to say virus. I don't know. We'll find out. The C virus over in China. So everybody knows what's going on with that. It's been pretty bad. I mean, it's even today I was doing some investigating and looked at Deagle because I thought maybe that this may have something to do with Deagle.com, which if you don't know, if anybody doesn't know what Deagle.com is, it shows a huge drop in population for the planet. Well, I started doing some investigating on that. It's probably not. That population drop is 5 years away, it seems. And with the way this Corona V is going, the population drop, if this was it, then it would drop it immediately almost. I mean, you all know what's going on. So, but a couple things I've put together that I see after doing some investigating has blown my mind a little, and I'm starting to think that this CV outbreak in China, especially with this novel virus, if I don't get kicked off for that either. Novel means new. If you don't know, that's why they call it the novel. So to get into this, I'm not going to try to take up too much of your time. I'm going to try to keep it short. So if you all don't know what's going on, basically there's been a huge outbreak of a virus that has flu-like symptoms. If you don't know what's happening, a lot of people don't know what's killing people, or what about the V is killing people. So what about the V that's killing people is not, it's basically the symptoms that's hurting people. So what's happening is people are catching a fever, and the virus goes to such an advanced stage so quickly that they just don't have time. Doctors do not have time to basically work on you. They don't have time to start fixing you before it can make it to the advanced stage. It moves so quickly that the stages and the symptoms develop so quickly that there's just no time. So one of those stages is a fever. The fever moves so rapidly and so quickly that it's going beyond 104 and 105 degrees, and your brain's overheating and it's causing a seizure. Now, if you all have seen videos of that, I'm sure on Twitter, there's videos of that all over the place. Now, you do develop flu-like symptoms before all this happens, and so nobody knows if they have it or not, and that's what makes it so bad. Some people just think they're sick, but you'll know what it is by time in a couple hours. Basically, in about 3 hours, you'll develop a fever, and within 72 hours, you will have full-blown pneumonia. that's the second thing that kills you. So within 3 days, you'll have over 104-degree temperature, and bilateral pneumonia kicks in, which is I did find a case in the United States where a woman who was 49 years old, this was from 2018, a woman who was 49 years old had a C virus type, or a type which is the flu or the common cold. Both are the same just about. And she developed pneumonia within 3 hours. Full-blown pneumonia. She was almost to the point of being intubated manually, and she somehow rapidly recovered. Now, I don't know, that was in a medical journal. I think the lady's name was Fing something. I'm pretty sure I have it, so I'll find it one day. But that was in 2018. Now, a couple of things that's going on is that if you don't know what's been going on in China, I'm gonna show you. Here is a video of what's going on with people. There's 200 million people have been quarantined. Basically, if you're on the inside of the Great Wall of China, you're being quarantined. A lot of the people outside the Great Wall of China aren't being quarantined because it's a rural area, it's country, it's trees, it's forests, and there's not a lot of people out there, which is a problem too, because there's not a lot of medical services out there, and which is also a problem that the Great Wall of China is shut down. It is. Even Singapore. Singapore recently had a man from New Jersey who had been visiting a guy in Singapore who was, I believe, also in the United States. He came here from Singapore, and he was his friend, and the man died on a cruise ship. He was taken off the cruise ship, and he had come in contact with a friend that was from Singapore. So the CV is spreading, and it's worse than people think. So this is what's happening in China, in Wuhan. It's happening in a lot of places in China. What you're looking at is a video of doors being welded on an apartment complex. So there's more than one of these videos going around. So they're welding people, they're quarantining people inside of these apartment complexes, and they're welding the door shut. And they're telling people to stay in their homes. All right, so that's what they're doing. So this is what's happening now. Since they're welding people inside their homes and their apartments, and they're telling people to stay home and don't come out, this is what's happening. This video is,
满足吗？
this is a
这鸡
horrible video, so if you don't want to watch it, don't watch it. These people were told to stay in their homes. They were
慢点，慢点，慢点，摩托机。哎，早已这边。
passing away inside their homes because they're being told to stay in their homes. And they're being told
让他们去买买，都按了，
they're being told to
好喝，小哥，辛苦了啊。
stay in place, and they're being welded and quarantined in their homes, and that's what's happening. And basically, the Chinese government is just saying, you know what, we want you to die in your house and just stay there, because if you don't go outside, then you can't spread it. But that's also another issue. And the other issue, the other part of that issue is well, there's two. So first off, on January the 23rd or the 24th, right before the Chinese government quarantined everybody or put the quarantine in place, 5 million people left the area, Wuhan, and the area surrounding Wuhan, and traveled. So this is from the Associated Press, January 10th, or today's news. So 5 million people left Wuhan and traveled to the surrounding cities and traveled to other countries. Now, that's a lot of people. That's 5 million people is a lot of people. The government is unaware who they came in contact with. They don't know where they went, if they were infected, what transportation system they took, whether it was a bus or a plane or a boat, or they just don't know. They don't know where they went. 5 million people up and left the Wuhan and the surrounding area before the Chinese government could quarantine everybody. That was January the 24th. Today's February the 10th. So imagine how many days that is. Now, if you look, or if you... I'll try to, if you probably can't look, but I'll try to show it to you real quick. I'll try to let you read it if you can. It's pretty small. This article is. It says, world population researchers found that travel out of Wuhan has historically ramped up in the weeks before Lunar New Year's Day. Based on historical travel patterns, they identified 18 high-risk cities within China that received the most travelers from Wuhan during this period. Now, it's been the Lunar New Year. So, the Lunar New Year is the biggest holiday in China. It's like Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's, Easter, Hanukkah, whatever, all wrapped into one. And everybody travels, and I mean, there's 250 plus million people in China, and all of them are going somewhere or doing something on that day. They all eat together. They all eat in big restaurants. They all eat at large tables together. So, you know, they don't know where they went. They then used 2018 flight itineraries from the International Airport Association to map the global connectivity of those cities from the prior year to see where people traveled, in order to know where these 5 million people might have went to. Now, these are facts. These aren't a guess. This isn't a guess. 5 million people left the area right when the outbreak was happening. And some of those people, so you're seeing some of that happen in other countries and spread to other countries now. So they note that the travel patterns after restrictions started rolling on January the 23rd will not match historical norms, and that the cities they identified are initial ports of landing. Travelers could have subsequently moved elsewhere. meaning they could have went somewhere else after the fact. The top 10 global destination for travelers from high-risk Chinese cities around the Lunar New Year, according to their analysis, were Thailand, Japan, Hong Kong, Taiwan, South Korea, the United States, Malaysia, Singapore, Vietnam, and Australia. In Africa, Egypt, South Africa, Ethiopia, Mauritius, Morocco, Nigeria, and Kenya top the list. And what is bad about that, as the African government is basically does not have a medical system, and they have no health system whatsoever, and they're fighting Ebola at this point in time. So they have it says they have a weaker health infrastructure in many of those countries, and the longer cases go undetected, the more likely they are to spread. So imagine the countries that are just like them, that don't have a great health infrastructure and don't have health medical facilities that are updated, and they can't test. So those two things are that's one of the things that's going to make this worse. Now, the other thing that's making this worse is they've identified what are called super spreaders. Super spreaders are making they have identified these people. This is not. After I found this is now truth. It was basically just a guess that it may, or a theory that it may. It's now found its way to a more factual statement. Super spreaders could make the C virus outbreak harder to contain. Well, now they have found that it's one person can infect up to 12 people. One person can infect up to 12 people. Jonathan Ball, professor of virology at the University of Nottingham, said health officials should focus on identifying how the disease spreads between people. Of course, super spreaders can exacerbate the outbreak, but we need to understand transmission dynamics. A bunch of bull crap. Okay, this is the part where you need to pay attention. Experts previously warned that the mass exodus of residents from Wuhan, the center of the outbreak, has made it definitely too late to contain the spread of the virus. Those 5 million people left, it's too late. The spread of the virus is more than likely going to get worse. This is that when I read that statement, and this is not from a doomsday. This is not from a doomsday newspaper like the Express does with their an asteroid's going to hit Earth every 5 seconds. This is actually from the press. This is from the Associated Press, and this is basically it. The experts want to warn people, but the government, our government, and the Chinese government, and a lot of governments aren't saying anything, and they aren't saying anything. Have you noticed that our own government is quiet about all this? They haven't said anything. As a matter of fact, they barely announced that they sent any aid to China to help them. They are keeping their mouth shut, and that's how you know things are worse than what you think they are. And I want to read that again. Experts previously warned that the mass exodus of residents from Wuhan, which was the 5 million people that left right before it was quarantined, the center of the outbreak has made it definitely too late to contain the spread of the virus. And I want to put that up on my Twitter because a lot of people aren't going to, a lot of people aren't going to understand that has been said. So the other part of this is that, while all these people are being quarantined, other countries are flying their citizens out, and I want to show you what that looks like. I want to show you what a U.S. evacuation flight from China looks like and what they're doing.
Show of hands, has anybody not finished it yet? The only reason I say this is it's going to get really weird when everybody gets off the plane and you cannot. Because you have to have that in order to leave.
You see that they're all protected.
Airplane.
Everybody there is protected.
Show of hands, has anybody not finished it yet?
They're going to an army base in the United States that's where they're going to be quarantined for 2 weeks. And this is the U.S. government sending them there. You can see all of them wearing protective gear. Well, just like the Chinese government, I'll play that again. Just like the Chinese government, they're not stopping the spread.
Show of hands, has anybody not finished it yet?
They're not stopping the spread of this at all because none of them are wearing masks. They're all just sitting right beside each other, and they're not giving any precaution to this at all. They're not doing anything to prevent further spread. And I'll show you what I mean by further spread. This is one of the updates that came out today. C-virus live update. Cruise ship infections surge as thousands remain quarantined. I think this was the Washington Post. Cruise ships. There's been cruise ships all over the world that are being quarantined right now because somebody on the ship has the virus. Now, the problem with that is let me show you. I forgot to pull that one up, that video up. So let me show you. The problem with that is that I don't know if I have it or not. I don't think I have it. So there's a video of a guy talking about what's going on inside a cruise ship, and he's scared to death. The guy's scared to death because they're not doing anything. They're stuck in this cruise ship with like 5 or 6 quarantined people that have contracted the C virus, the CV virus, and the officials on the ship are not doing anything to prevent the spread, and those people who are not infected have to stay in there with them. And that's like 200 plus passengers are being quarantined in with the same people who have the CV virus, and they have no masks, they have no protection whatsoever. They're just sitting on a cruise ship in the middle of the ocean, being quarantined. And they're not allowed to go to any ports. They're not allowed to go to land. They're not allowed to do anything. And there's several cruise ships that way. So, there's a lot more the government is not doing enough. And that leads me to the United States. There was 12 cases. There's probably more than that now. But in Santa Clara County in California, this is KRON News, Channel 4 in Santa Clara County. County officials have extended their the CV outbreak. Santa Clara County declares local health emergency. County officials have extended their declaration of a local health emergency in Santa Clara County due to the CV outbreak. Officials stressed that this does not mean there is an increased risk to the public. The declaration helps ensure that the county is prepared to respond effectively to the emergency. Well, when you declare a health emergency, certain things come into play. You're allowed to, certain funding becomes available, certain resources become available. Well, it just so happens that in that county, there are 2 cases. I think there's 2 cases. 2 people have tested positive for the CV virus in Santa Clara County, a county of about 2 million residents. California's huge, man. They got a lot of people. I used to live there, and a lot of them aren't smart. They don't know what to do. They think that somebody's going to come and save them all the time. They don't have a lot of common sense, and I don't mean to be talking about Californians that way, but I'm from Kentucky, and I'm just going to tell you, they just don't. They don't. They live a city life, and that's it. All of them have. So the county said the first patient is a Santa Clara County resident who had returned home from China on January 24th. He traveled through San Jose Airport. Officials said he come in contact with very few people since returning. The second person is a visitor of Santa Clara County and traveled through San Francisco Airport on January 23rd to visit family. The woman has stayed home since she arrived and has been regularly monitored, with officials adding she has not been sick enough to be hospitalized. Now, I don't know what strain she has, what strain of the CV virus she has, but I just don't believe that she's not sick enough to be hospitalized when everyone else is. The other, I'll get to that point. I'll get to that. The other number in a minute. So, that's in California. Now, California hasn't been shown on the news at all. This is their local news. So, all this is happening, and residents in China are basically, this video is, I'm going to let you listen to this video, and basically these are Wuhan residents. They are stuck in their apartment buildings, and at first I thought it was like purgatory, or it sounded like souls in hell burning, and I'm being serious. I thought it was awful. But listen to this. That's just crazy, dude. That freaked me out. That gave me cold chills. And, that's people praying and crying and yelling for people to save them. And that's people trying to get help. They're trapped in their buildings. The doors are welded shut. And I just want y'all to listen. I want you all to listen to that again. So, I mean, dude, that crap is horrible, man. So the outbreak is so bad that they had these huge trucks that go down the streets and spray like kind of like they were doing when Weston broke out. This is what they were doing. What they are spraying, I have no clue. Basically, the whole city looks like a big fog. It's in a big fog. This is Wuhan. Let me turn that down. I know you can't hear me. So whatever they're spraying, I guess some kind of sanitizer, but I'm going to tell you that sanitizer is not going to help. And I'm going to explain to you why here in a minute. The information that I have for you that I haven't told you yet is going to be a little bit bigger than all this, and it's going to freak you out and it's going to blow your mind at the same time. And that's if you're wondering what's on the screen, I've had the screen up. There's another YouTube channel on the screen, and what's behind that is that this guy right here is a foreign. He's a foreign guy from Australia, and his name is Wuhan Lawi, but he created this YouTube channel and a Twitter account just to show you what's happening in Wuhan. And his Twitter account, Twitter and Facebook are both blocked in China. So remember that. If you go look, and China is also blocking their own social media of WhatsApp or whatever that app is that they use for their social media, their messaging service, they're blocking that. So there hardly nothing is coming out of China. It doesn't even matter if you take if I take my cell phone into China, it probably wouldn't work. So basically, they're having other ways to get stuff out of China. So a lot of those videos were of pre-February. Those were a while back. So this guy is showing a lot of videos of not so bad stuff. Nothing that the media is showing, nothing that's being showed on Twitter. I'm not going to show you his videos. Basically, I've done enough investigation on North Korea and Russia and China to know when I see communist or dictatorship type propaganda. And basically that's what this Wuhan guy is. I'm positive. And you're probably, and the people are going to make the statement or make a comment saying, well, the guy's an Australian, has an Australian accent, and he's not from there. Why would he have any reason to lie? Well, North Korea did the same thing. If you go to North Korea's YouTube channel, they also used a foreign national to show you what the city looked like and how great it was. And a lot of countries do that. They use foreign nationals or people from other countries to show you how great it was because they expect they're not going to lie. And that's just not the truth. As a matter of fact, North Korea used an American. They used an American to make a video to go into all these stores. Well, I noticed the stores and I noticed all these places he was going to. He wasn't showing anything bad. He was talking good about the government, saying the government's doing a great job. Well, that's just not true. And if you listen to residents of China, You know that's not true. You know China's becoming, going back to more of a communist state than, even though they left, they're going back to communism. They probably never left, to be honest. But if you even if you go to his Twitter account, this guy's Twitter account, if you just look up Wuhan and see his green mask, he will not show his face. You can see all the stuff he's talking about. He's not talking about, and that's the difference. He's not talking about anything any other citizen's talking about. He's talking about how safe it is, how what the supermarkets look like. They're all stocked neatly with food. People are standing in a straight, like a single file line. They're not saying any words. Like the stores, in a chaotic emergency such as what's going on in China, there's likely no food on the shelf, to be honest. They have no transportation coming in and out of the country. So, let me get to the part that I wanted to show you. We're going on 45 minutes. So I wanted to get to the part where I'm going to look further into this, but in my opinion, when I first started doing this, or when I first started investigating more about how it spread and where it come from, it was odd that the Chinese government, well, the first reports were it came out of a public marketplace and it was from food. The Chinese government then said, no, it's not from that. Now, that was on the news. That was on all the mainstream media. Everybody's believing that everything that the Chinese government's saying. So, what I want to show you is you may not think it has anything to do with it until I show the second part of this. So, and I'll show you on the file that I'm getting ready to show you. I'll explain everything. So, this is a United States patent from Gilead Sciences. This is an actual patent number, U.S. patent number 2019. If you look it up, don't use the slash, don't use the backslash. Just type in U.S. 2019 0255085A1. Published date August 22nd, 2019. This is an application for methods for treating the CV virus infections, and the applicant was Gilead Sciences Incorporated, Foster City, California. It has all the inventors' names on it, and this was filed August 22nd, 2019. 5 months before the first case of the CV virus broke out. This one actually says it was filed February 1st, 2019. The date it was published was August 22nd, 2019, which is weird because that was 5 months ago, but it was filed February 1st, 2019. So you tell me what that means. It's got a file date that's... You think that those numbers would be reversed or something like that. There's the application number. Now, 5 months prior to that, they filed an application for a patent, And they also filed an application with the FDA to approve the treatment. Not only that, but when they filed the patent, they filed it in a priority status, meaning as fast as possible. They needed to get this drug out as fast as possible in August. But like I said, it says the publication date was 5 months ago in August, and the file date was February 1st, 2019, which was 9 days ago. That just doesn't make a bit of sense. So I started looking into the application and all that, and this is what else I found. This is the PDF. This is the application. It shows the inventors, who they are, and a lot of you are like, well, that's really not pertinent information. None of that's pertinent information. And why does it make a difference? So I'm showing this current assignee, Gilead Sciences. They've had priority status. They filed this, it says, back in 2015. So 9/16/2015, they had priority status. 2015 priority status. 2016 up to 2019, February 1st, 2019. And the last time was 8/22 of 2019, which is what you saw. And you don't see that file date on there of February 1st, 2019, do you? Or February 1st, 2020. No. The next file date is today, 2/10/2020, not February the 1st. There is no February 1st file date on there. The only number that matches anything is that second one. But you're probably like, all right, so, they've known about this since 2015. They've had a cure since 2015 for this particular strain of virus. So you're like, what's up with that? Well, the U.S. government is wanting them to create this and stockpile it for themselves, of course. But this is where I started thinking, besides about the spread and how it began. So, based on what the Chinese said, at first they said, as I said, it started in an open market, in a public market with food. Then they turned around and said, no, it didn't. And I believe they're both the same. I believe both are true. I believe they're trying to hide where it really came from, but I think they're both true. I think they both did come from the same place. I think both of what they said is true. And I know I kept repeating myself. I'm a little tired. I believe that it was in an open public place. I believe it was released there. That's what I believe. I believe that the CV virus was released in Wuhan. And I'll show you why in just a second. And I'm going to tell you who released it, who I think released it. So, back in 2015, the U.S. already knows about the strain of virus. They already have a cure for it. They already have a patent for it. The U.S. government does. Now, afterwards, after this is where I found a lot of things interesting. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and say this. I believe that the CV virus is an act of bioterrorism. That's what I'm going to. That's what I'm going to call it. I believe it's an act of bioterrorism. I think it was purposely released in that public market, in the public place. I believe China is probably doesn't know that. They probably do. The location at which it started, I do believe that, and I'm starting to believe that the U.S. government had made this string of the CV virus because there's about 6 others. And what better way to weaponize a virus than to change it in accordance and add or use the flu as the vehicle, or using the flu as a starting point to build upon their bioweapon. It's against the Geneva Convention to even have a bioweapon. You can't even use it. But nobody said you couldn't test it, and you would never know where it came from, even if it did. So I believe that the reason why the Chinese government is saying that it happened in the public market, it happened in a public place, is because it did happen there. But it wasn't from food. It wasn't from food. I believe it was released there. That's why it spread so quickly. That's why it spread that quick. And I'm going to show you on top of this document right here, this patent, why I think it was the U.S. And the U.S. probably has their reasons for doing what they did. Was it to China? It would be an act of bioterrorism if they was, even if the U.S. was testing it. But the U.S. government is having trouble out of China, so that is their biggest threat besides Russia. So let me show you why I think why I'm pretty sure it was China, or why I'm pretty sure it was the U.S. government that was the ones who released it. Besides, now you have to add all this stuff together. So you got the U.S. government in 2015 creating a cure, or Gilead Sciences, but the U.S. government, I'm pretty sure, had them do it. I'm pretty sure that there's more information about that somewhere. I think Mark Fugel may have more information about that. Dex, maybe. But because they talked about this patent before, and I don't think they showed it, but here it is. So this was back in 2015. Nobody even knew this strain of virus existed. This strain of virus was created in a lab. I do know that for a fact. It was created in a lab in the United States. And as you can see, I have proof of that. There it is, 2015. Prior to 2015, it just so happens that the United States has the cure for this strain, that the strain that was released in China. This strain is nowhere else in the world except for the United States. How did it end up in China? How did this strain end up in China? And nobody else had ever had it here except for one patient in 2018, a woman, 49 years old, as I said before. And I looked into it. She was the only person, because it was the most rare, one of the rarest flu cases in the world. And she was a school teacher at that. So above, where it says worldwide applications, you can see it you can see where it says worldwide applications. You see all these blue letters where it says 2016. It says JP, MX, AU, EA, and so on. So I'm going to tell you what those are. JP is Japan, MX is Mexico, AU is Australia, EA is the European, European Asia, or the EU. EP is, or CN is Canada. EP is, I forget EP is. The WO is the World Health Organization. The US, KR with a line strike through it, which is South Korea. And CA and TW, TW is Taiwan. I think CA is Canada, and CN is, I forget, something else. The reason KR has a line through it is because they discontinued the patent on this strain. They basically didn't develop the cure for the strain. Even though they have the cure, they didn't develop it. Now, do you know what's odd about all these? All those countries that I listed and all those countries that's in blue? Every one of those countries are allies with the United States. Those are the only countries that have a patent to this strain of the CV virus. Only those. They were all allied countries of the United States. And worldwide applications here starts in 2016. If you look right below that, it said the application starts in 2015. Even though, if you look look up in that list of where those countries are, the U.S. is in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8th. So they filed a Japan. They're saying that Japan filed first in that order. In the order that it is, Japan filed first. The U.S. filed 8th. Down here it says that the U.S. filed in 2015. So stuff is not adding up with this patent. The dates aren't adding up. The information's not adding up. And it also says the U.S. filed another patent in 2019, which was starting February 1st, of course. So from 2016 to 2019, so basically what I'm saying is that the U.S. government created this cure, or Gilead Sciences created the cure. It was then given to all of the United States allies, which is also in this list. And all of a sudden, China. Oh, CN is China. I'm sorry, CA is China, because China is an ally, but China didn't have the cure. If you remember, China didn't have the cure to this. They had to develop a cure. There is no. They said they had no cure. They had the testing for it, but they didn't have a cure. They do have a cure. This is it. This is the patent for it. If you look at the patent, it even tells you what the cure is and how to make it and the compounds that are in it. But all these people right here are allies with the United States, and it just so happens that China said they didn't have the cure to this. But all of a sudden, China just got hit with it. And the United States created this strain first in 2015. That's why I'm calling it bioterrorism. It's no coincidence that every one of those countries are on there, especially the World Health Organization. All these countries are United States allies, and then China says China filed for an application, a patent for the cure, but then when it come down to fighting this strain, they didn't have the cure at all. And they're saying that this cure is undeveloped and they're trying to get it developed. Gilead Sciences is trying to develop as fast as they can. But nobody has the cure and nobody's developed it. Apparently the United States already had it freaking 5 years ago. And then they turn around and gave the cure to all their allies. But yet, during all this, they were having trouble with China. And all of a sudden, China's hit with this deadly strain of the flu, and they are the CV virus, and all of a sudden, China just doesn't have it. Just, that's what slapped me in the face right there. That list slapped me right in my face. Because none of this matches up correctly to what's going on. Because every one of these says that they were filed in 2016. All these countries filed in 2016, and then the U.S. filed again in 2019. However, it's filed for priority status in 2015. I don't think it's a coincidence that every country on this list that has a patent or filed for a patent after the United States did in 2015, I don't think it's a coincidence that all these countries are allies to the United States, and then China ends up having a problem with the United States over the last 4 years, and then all of a sudden China gets hit with the CV virus. That's and then the Chinese government says it started in the middle of a public square. That's where it started. And then they denied that statement and said, we don't know where it started. I believe it did start in the middle of a public square. So, if, like I said, if that just blew me away when I saw that list, and when I saw that list, that made me think something different. So, all right, guys, I'm going to jump off here. I just wanted to show you all that. I'm tired. I have to go to work in the morning. So, like I said, that's if y'all have a chance, if since some of you are just now joining, I don't know if Marf is off the air. Marf Ugel's off the air or not. He's probably not. I know I put this show on before he did, or while his show was going on. I'm sorry. And so if you all get a chance, just go back and rewatch it, and go back and listen to the things that I say leading up to this point in the show. And like I said, man, all this just blew me away. So, all right, everybody, I am getting off of here. I hope you all have a good night, and I'm out of here.
They can't do this now. This is not a test.